Imagine you're a new team lead at a tech startup. Your client wants a sleek, functional app design by next month. As exciting as the project sounds, you realize there is a lot to consider. What exactly does the client expect? How do you prioritize tasks? And most importantly, how can you ensure your team meets the deadline without cutting corners? Welcome to the world of project management, where careful planning and defining your project scope makes all the difference. Today, we're diving into some foundational steps in managing projects effectively. We're going to look at three concepts. The first is defining the project scope. Let's start with the project scope, defining what the project will and won't cover. A well-defined project scope sets clear boundaries and prevents scope creep, which is when additional tasks sneak into your timeline and budget. Using the SMART acronym as a guide is crucial here. For example, being specific means knowing if the app will need specific features like user accounts or a chat function. And defining this early on, it's important. The second concept is planning the actual tasks. Once the scope is defined, the next step is planning the tasks. Here you will break down the project into manageable chunks. This includes identifying each phase, setting dependencies, and creating a timeline. Planning out tasks is like laying bricks for a building. It provides for a solid structure for the entire project. Let's look at the third concept, setting realistic timelines. Setting realistic timelines is essential. It's tempting to promise a short turnaround, but overly ambitious deadlines lead to stress for you, lead to rush to work and quality issues. And this is not good for anyone. A realistic timeline considers you or your team's capacity, availability for the project, and any potential setbacks way ahead of time. By setting achievable goals, you are more likely to build trust with your clients and keep your team motivated. Let's look at some practical examples and applications. The first example, let's look at a logo design project. It's a smaller scope example. For a small team, using the SMART acronym helps create clear guidelines. The project scope, for example, might specify 2 design options of logos and 3 rounds of revisions. The timeline can include phases for time to brainstorm with the client, sketch, and then finalizing the design with a total completion goal of 2 weeks. This clarity keeps everyone focused and ensures that you, the designer, you aren't overwhelmed with extra edits. Let's look at a second example, which is a software project. Let's consider a complex project like developing a custom software solution for a major client. Here, scoping is critical to avoid missed requirements. The project could be divided into major deliverables, for example, like front-end design as a category, back-end development as another category, and then integrating both. By planning tasks and timeline within each of these 3 phases, you or your team can align on realistic deadlines and reduce the risk of unexpected delays. Let's look at a summary of what to do and not to do. To wrap up, we're going to go over some key do's and don'ts of project scoping and planning. Do define a clear project scope and stick to it. Don't make unrealistic promises about deadlines. Instead, base your timeline on what's achievable. Do involve your team in the planning process to get input on task dependencies, and that's for situations in which you're not the only one. And also, don't overlook the importance of keeping your client in the loop whatever happens. Regular updates build trust and prevent surprise.